So the first place we'll start with the variables is how they are made. So we can say, let's just say name for the moment. This is the declaration, so I'm declaring a string variable and I'm declaring it as name. The second step is initialization. So you're saying that name equals thread. So if we was to add this to the console, we would see thread. And we can just add this together in one neat step. So in one line, we can just say string and then declare the name, and then we can say it equals thread. And this brings us to our first data type in C#, string. So string is just a string of characters. So each one of these is a character. We've got F, R, E, and D. So the way that we will have a look at this is we'll say console write line, and then we'll just type the name of the variable. So we just have a look in the console. We will see thread. So as I mentioned earlier, a string is made up of a string of characters. Well, char stands for character, and we can only store one character at a time inside of char. The only difference between string and char when we are assigning it to a variable is instead of using double quotation marks, we have to use single quotation marks. Honestly, the way that I just remember this is that you can only do a single character, so you do single quotation marks. It's got me this far, so we can just say that thread's grade is, so if we quickly have a look at that, we got thread's grade is A. Right, so we've looked at string, we've looked at char. Now we're going to move on to bool, so boolean. A boolean data type can only hold true or false. So I'll show you what I mean. We'll say hungry. Now, when I say true or false, this is not what I mean, and I'll just show you quickly in the console. So if we have a look, it failed. The difference between these is that string needs double quotation marks, char needs a quotation mark, but because, oh, I also should have done semicolon, but because true is a keyword, just like string, char, and bool, to access it, there is no quotation marks. And as you can see, it's turned a different color. So to access it, we need to write it as it is. Let's make this look a little bit nicer, shall we? There we go. Right, so we've got, is Fred hungry? Well, Fred is hungry. So when we're using keywords, we need to make sure that we don't add quotation marks on them, especially if we're assigning it to a bool data type, because it will not accept anything else other than true or false. Next, we're going to start looking at numbers. So we've got int for integer, and we'll say how many pizzas. Fred is so hungry, and we'll say 2, which I think is a lot of pizzas. So an integer is nice and easy, no quotation marks, as it's a number and we want it to be seen as a number and not a string or a character. We just need to put the number itself, and that's it. So the answer to how many pizzas can you eat right now, the answer to that is going to be an astounding 2. Wow, that is a lot. Now this brings us to our first decimal. We've got float. So for a float, you need to put an F at the end of it, because otherwise it will read it as a double, and we'll get onto doubles in a moment. But all you need to know for this moment is when you are using the float data type on your variable, we need to pop an F at the end. But is this F going to appear in the console? We'll see in a second. How many pizzas did you actually eat? So as you can see, the F did not display. This is just for when it's getting compiled, it knows to treat this like a float. So how many pizzas did you actually eat? 1.1. Next, we can use a double. So for a double, we don't need to add anything at the end, because naturally C# wants to treat decimal data types as a double. So we can just leave this one as it is, nice and easy. And the price we got for this pizza is $19.99. Another thing to notice about double, it can hold up to 15 or 16 numbers. So I'll show you what happens. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Should we go over by one? Dun 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 dun. Let's have a look what happens when we go over by one. So double will round up once we hit its limit. While we're still in its limit, it will just show the characters as they are, but it is more precise than a float. And finally, the last one we're going to do is decimal. Just like float and double, it is a decimal, but it has more precision than a double as well. It can go to around, I think, 28 characters. So let's actually use price for this one as well, and because we want to be weird, we'll just say £19 and so many pennies. And because it's not a double, we need to add an M at the end of it, otherwise it will try to read this like a double. So we'll just keep the console white line as we have it. How much was the pizza? Well, we want it to be very, very exact. I don't know how you paid that much, but there you go. So that's the most commonly used data types in C#. We got string, character, boolean, integer, float, double, and decimal. Just remember when you're doing these that char is one character, has one quotation mark. Bold has no quotation marks. We want to see that lovely blue color when we type it. For float, we need to put F at the end. For double, we don't need to do anything. And for decimal, we need to put an M at the end. If you would like to see more C# videos, subscribe so you never miss out. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.